What's going on, Disney fans? It's Disney Dan here with another episode of DIStory. For me, many of my best memories of Disney parks are the smells. I get excited to ride Pirates of the Caribbean and smell that musty bromine water. I will always look forward to smelling the burning books in Spaceship Earth, and I can remember the first time I was hit with that florally citrusy scent when you pass over the orange groves in Soarin' nearly 13 years ago when I first rode it. While most people go to the parks to ride rides, or eat great food, drink around the world, or see the crazy nighttime fireworks spectaculars, I go to Disney to sniff. It's part of the reason why I'm so thrilled to have the Magic Candle Company as a sponsor for my channel, giving you guys great discounts on their amazing, accurate theme park smells. I want everyone to have easy access to their favorite smell to help you get that quick fix when you're craving a Disney day, but you're back at home, too far away from the parks to go visit. Disney certainly knows what they're doing when it comes to enhancing the experiences with bold and distinct scents. But who even came up with the idea to infuse smells into entertainment, and how does smelling these iconic scents even work, and why are these different aromas triggering such a strong emotional memory in me? And most importantly, how does Disney do it? How do they fill their parks and rides with so many different smells? Well, the answer to these questions might surprise you, and it all starts in 1959.
1959 would mark the year of experimental movie theater experiences. For instance, for his horror film The Tingler, director-producer William Castle wired every seat in a theater with a tiny vibrating device that would shock viewers during the movie, just as the film's fear-consuming parasite would break out into the real world and terrorize the audience. Just months later, two other filmmakers would race to create the next interactive cinematic experience, movies you could smell. In early December of that same year, Charles Weiss invented a gimmick he called Aromarama, a specialized machine loaded with 72 different scents that would disperse into the theater's air conditioning system at specific times. Those carefully timed dispersals were triggered by signals laid into the film's soundtrack. The process debuted with a travelogue documentary set in China by Italian filmmaker Carlo Lizzani called The Great Wall. Within a month, an inventor and self-proclaimed world-famous osmologist by the name of Hans Laube would create a similar device that he called Smellovision. The system would spray scents from a back room through small tubes that ran to each seat in the theater. It held 30 scents in all, and similarly was set off by tones laid into the film's soundtrack. Most notably, Smellovision would be used for a murder mystery set in rural Spain called Scent of Mystery. The two devices worked similarly. A series of perfume oil reservoirs were attached to a rotating belt that would move a container forward as each scene progressed. The machine, timed by those hidden tones in the soundtrack, would lower a needle into the reservoir, piercing its top, opening the bottle, and releasing the scent up and into a fan that would distribute the scent to the audience through their respective methods. While similar in concept, the two systems were used somewhat differently. Most of the smells utilized with Aromarama were simply lined up to match the visuals on screen at the time. For instance, the smell of Chinese food during a scene in a restaurant, or the smell of burnt matches during a fireworks scene. However, Smellovision took the concept a step further and used the smells to enhance the storytelling itself. For example, whenever the film's mysterious killer would appear on screen, the smell of pipe smoke would be used, which would ultimately serve as a clue for the audience later down the line. Aromarama was surprisingly well received, and audiences reportedly delighted in the unique experience of not just seeing and hearing the remote countryside of China, but also having a chance to smell it as well. However, not everyone enjoyed the experience, with major publications like the New York Times calling it out as a gimmick that didn't actually enhance the film. Unfortunately, Smellovision wouldn't fare any better, with the mechanism not properly working during its initial public use. Ultimately, those small tubes running to each seat would produce a loud hissing sound when air was forced through them, creating a major distraction from the film itself. At times, some of the scents weren't strong enough and quickly dissipated before they made it to the rear of the theater, where audience members would actually begin to audibly sniff louder and louder as they tried to desperately smell something. The issues would eventually be worked out, but by that point word had already spread that the gimmick was a failure, and so almost overnight the idea of accompanying smells with movies seemed to die out. And while it worked as a novelty to enhance a nature documentary, it didn't work as effectively as a narrative plot device and left audiences confused. As decades passed, other entrepreneurs tried their hand at improving the technology and making it more accessible. In 1999, the iSmell device was prototyped, a home station that can produce almost any smell with 128 tiny perfume cartridges. The device could deliver a customized smell that would be paired with things like receiving email and visiting websites. All in all, dozens of these designer smell machines of the future have come and gone over the years since Smellovision and Aromarama. Even today, scientists are trying to discover ways to stimulate our olfactory receptors with new high-tech devices, trying to trick our brains into smelling something that isn't quite there. Perhaps one day the tech will be perfected, and if it happens, we'll probably be bombarded with smells in television and movies and, yes, even advertisements. However, for now, the closest we have can mainly be found at places like Walt Disney World.
Wow. And to imagine what life would be like if that big blockbuster stinker of a film had its Smellovision actually work as well as the one in the China documentary. What if it worked so perfectly that audiences loved it? Word spread, and the next thing you know, every movie has a soundtrack and a smell track, and before you know it, VHS tapes were being sold with packs of scratch and sniff cards for the whole family to sniff along with the plot, and soon you'd have Academy Awards for best smell mixing in a short film, or best featured smell in a drama, or the best smell track. What's amazing is how Disney has managed to take something that has repeatedly failed to take off in mainstream media and make it work with tremendous success in their own parks. So, how does Disney do it? How do they fill their parks with these distinct and memorable smells? Well, to really understand how this kind of technology works, what we need to do is zoom back out and look at all the different kinds of smells you can encounter inside of the Disney parks. The first kind is the accidental smell. Things like the pungent hydraulic fluid of Star Tours that you smell when you cross the ramps into the motion simulator. Another example is the stingingly sweet fog of bromine that surrounds pretty much every attraction at the Disney parks that has water on it. These are smells people strongly identify, but they are present for a reason. They serve a mechanical purpose in the park. It's not something that Disney put in there. The remaining smells are the ones specifically designed and dispersed into the park to immerse you into the fantasy of your ultimate vacation by Imagineers. These smells can either be one used for a narrative purpose, like the smoldering ruins we smell in Spaceship Earth, or the orange groves we smell as we fly high above them in Soarin', while other smells are there to just pull you as deep into the immersion and the illusion that you're off in a distant place, far, far away from your troubles in real life. The sickeningly sweet smells of cookies and cotton candy pumping out into the storefronts of Main Street USA, or the exotic green tea and citrus aromas that fill your lungs when you enter the lobby of the Polynesian Resort. Disney has perfected the art, and more importantly the technology, to make smells the ultimate memory-making weapon. To do this, they use what's called a smellitizer. That's right, the smellitizer. A smellitizer is a general nickname given to many different types of devices hidden around all of Disney resorts and parks. Some are tiny, fitting into these small snack carts and food stations, while others are much larger, powering the sense that you experience while riding all those big e-ticket attractions. While there are so many examples of these all over the parks, here are some of the easiest smellitizers for you to spot on your next visit to the parks. First, head over to the bakery on Main Street USA in any of the core castle parks and search around for a little bit for what might appear to be small round speaker grates lining the walls. Lean down into these little ports and you'll quickly realize that sound isn't coming from them, but smells are. Behind the wall is a special built fan that pumps a selected scent up and out and into the open air. Some smellitizers, though, are nothing more than just a basic piece of equipment strategically placed in a well-ventilated area. Notice how at the Magic Kingdom, in the candy shop, their huge cotton candy machine is located right in the front of the store between two large doors that are constantly opening and closing, forcing a huge amount of airflow, moving that sickeningly sweet cotton candy smell all through the stores. Meanwhile, other smellitizers are intentionally augmented into existing pieces of equipment used every day in the parks to dramatically increase the airflow of an existing scent, such as these discrete blowers installed at every popcorn stand in any Disney park. These tiny fans pull a current of air through the large glass boxes filled with popcorn, immediately filling the surrounding area of that cart with that smell of that sweet, buttery, warm popcorn. But cast members have to pay close attention. If they accidentally start burning some popcorn or maybe something goes wrong with the machine, they've got to quickly turn off those smellitizers so that the area doesn't end up smelling like burnt popcorn. Obviously, the worst smell you could ever associate with any kind of snack food. Finally, the most impressive smellitizers in my opinion are the ones that have been imagineered deep into the core mechanics of a ride. One of the best examples of this is Soarin'. As you enter the ride and take a seat on that large metallic bench, you might notice that there's a small gray canopy above your seat. This canopy serves one of two purposes. First, to partially mask all the mechanics and dangling feet of the guests above you so you can focus on the screen, but the second reason is to deliver all of those distinct smells. Those small circle vents right above your head that could potentially be speakers are actually open-air vents connected to a specific system of reservoirs that push short-timed bursts of scented air right down on top of your head. And then, just as quickly, they can shoot another burst of clean air to remove that smell from your face and allow the ride to continue to be synced with what you're seeing and what you're smelling. And Disney doesn't have any plans to stop this constant innovation with this technology. They're always blending it with all kinds of new Imagineering to make something new. The most innovative example that I saw of this recently was at the 60th anniversary of Disneyland during that Diamond celebration. Their nighttime fireworks, they did something incredible. They made Main Street snow, but it wasn't any ordinary snow, it was scented snow, where Disney cleverly positioned a smellitizer to feed heavily scented air directly into the blower fans of commercial bubble machines hidden on the roofs. And as these snowy bubbles slowly crept above Main Street, littering down on the heads of the many guests, as they popped, they would release this sweet smell of gingerbread. Really, really clever. But I suppose the real question is, why does Disney focus so heavily on smells? How does smelling even work? And why is it that we can recall smells better than anything else we experience?
Our sense of smell is likely one of humanity's most powerful mental tools. Unlike most of your other senses, when your body encounters an odor, it is able to very quickly and very efficiently process, store, and log that smell as it relates to a memory. The core mechanic your body uses to smell is actually relatively simple. Your nose is lined with a sensitive mucous membrane, where vaporized odor molecules that float up and into your nasal cavity are caught. Directly under the mucus layer is a special receptor called the olfactory epithelium, which detects the odor molecules. These receptor cells have the most diverse variety when compared to those used in your other four senses. With over 350 receptors that capture and process each odor differently, your brain's cortex is flooded with a huge amount of memory-forming data for each separate scent you encounter. From here, the signals of the olfactory receptors are sent back to the olfactory bulbs, located at the back of the nose. These olfactory bulbs have a direct route to the brain, sending messages to your limbic system to begin forming memories and emotions, and the non-stop route directly to the neocortex, where your brain does most of its best work. Your brain uses the pattern of data fired off from those 350 receptors to begin forming a memory. The more exposure you have to the same smell, the more time your huge arsenal of smell receptors have to overwhelm the specific neural pattern over and over until it's locked in. Similar processes are employed by your sense of sight or sound, but you log memories of things like shapes, colors, voices, and songs in a far less efficient way. Here's a good way to simply break down just how efficient and powerful your nose is compared to your eyes. Picture that you're sitting at a campfire and having an amazing time with friends. Now let's imagine for a moment that each of your 5 senses is an artist, and the receptors each of the senses use to relay data to the brain is represented by a different color of paint. The combined artistic skill of all 5 of your senses work together to paint a beautiful portrait of this particular memory, of you sitting at the fire surrounded by friends. Inside your eyes, you only have 3 different types of photoreceptors, just 3, which process the patterns of light that pass through them into data your brain stores as a visual image. But because your eyes only have 3 types of receptors, they can only fill in parts of your memory portrait with 3 different colors of paint. Each sense comes in one by one, and your brain begins to compile all of the many colorful receptor paints into a single collective memory. The sight of fire, the feeling of the cold night breeze on your skin, the taste of roasted marshmallows, the sounds of your friends laughing. Meanwhile, inside your nose, you have 350 different types of receptors, pumping each of their own unique color into that big collective memory portrait. The amount of detail those 350 colors are able to produce is remarkable compared to the measly 3 colors your eyes contributed. Because so much of your mental portrait of that evening is filled with the detailed information about the distinctive smells, it's very easy for you to encounter a whiff of an outdoor campfire and instantly have those strong memories fill your head. Your brain can match that huge amount of data quickly and easily to past experiences, as opposed to seeing a fire on TV and not once even relating the two images. Your nose is very powerful.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. So we as humans have adapted and evolved to be really, really good at processing smells. I guess that's why I'm smacked with tons of happy memories every time I simply walk into the queue of Pirates of the Caribbean and catch that whiff of the bromine water. I have so many happy memories linked to that chemically musty bouquet that even just standing in the queue in the line or even walking by the ride will suddenly trigger a flood of memories. Or just like how I can stand in the lobby of the Polynesian for practically hours because that place smells so good and floods me with warm, happy, fuzzy feelings of all these great memories I've had at that resort. Disney is super smart to be filling their parks with these strong and powerful smells. It's kind of brilliant. But wait, I thought we were going to talk about how Disney does all kinds of weird mind control. That still doesn't answer how Disney is manipulating my brain.
Hey Disney fans, it's Defunct Kevin, and I am so excited to be here to talk to you about smells. This video is how Disney uses smells to manipulate your mind. So here's basically the rundown. Things I need to get out of the way. First off, the nostrils are the eyes of your nose. They see and smell everything. Everything. Sniff right now. What did you smell? Was it lavender? I thought so. Okay, for most of you that won't be lavender, but that was I did kind of like a Bear in the Big Blue House thing.
Look, you told me all of this was kept top secret. These YouTubers are telling them everything. Look, you're fired, man. You all think you're so smart, huh? You just know the ins and outs, don't you? Well, if anyone's gonna be exposing himself, it's gonna be me. We pump out smells of popcorn, candy, and cookies, so you'll buy popcorn, candy, and cookies. But it goes deeper than that, baby. We put smells everywhere. Why? 'Cause you'll remember them. Water fountain at the mall, Disneyland. You pop some popcorn, Disneyland. Smell a pineapple, Disneyland. We know just what it takes to get you all crawling back. And remember, you learned it from me, the big cheese, not some group of YouTube nerds leeching off my empire.
Well then, I guess I'm in some serious trouble because I just cracked open a fresh bottle of the Magic Candle Company's Polynesian essential oil and I'm suddenly really desperate to go back to the parks. I think Disney's master plan is working. I think Disney is controlling my mind. I have this bizarre tingling on my face. It's getting... Oh, that's better. Of course, nothing as simple as a familiar smell from a happy memory can manipulate your actions, forcing you into immediately booking a flight to Orlando. That's kind of ridiculous. It's much simpler than that. Instead, Disney just wants you to think about them as often as they can get you to. They want you to think fondly of your vacations and hope that you'll plan more in the future. They want you to remember the good and forget the bad. If your brain is more likely to be focusing on the great memories associated with the fun smells, you're less likely to remember that 90-minute wait you had to endure for Space Mountain, or the time that one bus was late and it was a little bit too humid and you had to wait that extra 10 minutes. Their business is selling happiness, and smells are one of the best gateways to happy memories. Which is why I continue to say that the Magic Candle Company is one of my favorite small businesses ever. And I love that they're letting me give you that sweet 15% off discount that they don't really hand out to many other content creators using that coupon code DisneyDan15 that you can essentially save 15% off every time you order. It's not just good for one time. You can, every time you want to restock, and you can even use it on the first month of their subscription box. Really, they're super generous and pretty amazing. In fact, they're so generous that they're partnering with us to bring you a one-of-a-kind sampler pack where they're going to put together the top 10 most popular scents that they have into a nice little bundled specialty pack where you get a sampling of these little vials of all 10 oils that you can do all kinds of really cool stuff with, but also kind of get a taste and kind of an overall idea of just how great these smells are. If you've been waiting, if now is the time, because I've got to tell you, this little 10-pack of scents is a really great deal, and it's going to just blow your mind with full of nostalgia. In fact, do a little experiment. See if smelling these candles and these oils and these tart and the air fresheners, see if those things jog your memory. See if you get a little bit of anxiety. See if you get a little bit worked up about it. I'm extremely interested to hear from you guys to know if when you smell something out in your everyday life that kind of reminds you of the Disney parks, do you get that great memory association? Can you pull up picture perfect memories from the back of your mind from that one time you were in the Crystal Palace meeting Winnie the Pooh while eating waffles, or the time that you were riding the Matterhorn or Splash Mountain? Can your brain pull those things just from a simple little smell? So you definitely have to check out this really cool, we're calling it the Top 10 Enchanted Oils Pack, and you get to sample some really great stuff. The Pirate Water, the Polynesian, the Dole Whip, the Fort Wilderness Lodge, the Contemporary. There's some really, really good scents in this. So go visit magiccandlecompany.com with the links below in the description to get access to that special bundle. And don't forget the coupon code DisneyDan15 to get 50% off. And like I always say, thank you so much for watching, guys. You're the absolute best. And I also wanted to quickly mention before you go that Disney Dan has a Patreon now packed with some really great rewards, merchandise discounts, swag, including an exclusive Discord just for people who are part of the Patreon. We're already having some real fun over there. Plus, we also have Disney Dan shirts, enamel pins, and more. So check the description for links to all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully this was somewhat interesting. I did a lot of research on this. I promise I didn't make anything up. There's some really interesting facts and really interesting data about how your brain handles smells. And sometimes weird conspiracy theories are true, but even though they're not necessarily malicious, there's some truth behind them, and Disney definitely employs those smells to really change how your brain handles memories in their parks and makes you want to come back. That's definitely 100% true. 100%. All right, guys, thanks for watching. You rock.
Thanks, folks, for watching Disney Dan. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. All the magic is just a few clicks away. Plus, find Dan on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and say hello. Oh, see you real soon.
Hey, it's Jack from Park Ride History. Did I miss anything?